United States submarine base at Key West, Florida. A dispatch that quoted President Truman's press secretary, Charles Ross, as saying that President Truman has no knowledge of any secret project by this government that would give substance to the existence of such objects. Ross also said that both the Air Force and the Navy deny that such objects...
Yeah, it is popping off. For those wondering if you hear a weird noise, that's Chelsea's Furby that she put batteries in for the first time in 20 years. So it's got a lot to say.
Honestly, I'm overjoyed that it still works. I love it just as much as I did when I first got it.
They just don't make toys like they used to.
I actually went into a Furby deep dive yesterday, and Tiger, the Tiger Electronics, the people who make the Furby, who teamed up with Hasbro. It's singing. The people who made that said that it was the first step towards like artificial intelligence, like learning artificial intelligence, like sentient beings. Hasbro and Tiger Electronics, can you believe it?
Yeah, I can believe it. Hasbro is insane. Hey, what's up? My name is Noelle, and I am probably a truth that no one believes that my mom will die preaching, which is the fact that she took the batteries out of my Furby, placed it in the pantry because it wouldn't shut up, and she says to this day, swears on her life, that it continued to talk.
I would believe it because I think that my Furbies got put in the crawl space, and I went down there years later because my parents' crawl space is like a terrifying hellscape. And out of nowhere we hear, "Wow!" And it had been maybe like 6 years. And we got the hell out. It was like one lone Furby out of box just sitting there in the darkness, like
just waiting for human interaction for the first time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who are you?
Oh, I'm Chelsea. I'm a parent again. Just listening to my kid chirping at me. He is terrifying Puffin though, so you're gonna hear the Furby go off, and then you're gonna hear the soft whine of Puffin being concerned while he just stares at me.
Yeah, you are definitely giving off like boomer parent vibes where the moment you have a new child, the first child immediately becomes an afterthought.
Puffin started that. I was Puffin's first child, and now I am the afterthought because he's obsessed with Oliver. So
don't try to blame this on Puffin when he was your pride and joy, and then you got a Furby in the house, and now you're okay with Puffin crying constantly so that you could be entertained by the Furby.
Okay, I keep the Furby in my office because Puffin doesn't come in my office. He's only coming in here to bully me because he's not happy with that. Like, there's anything else that could have my attention.
He's gonna tear that Furby apart.
I think the Furby could take him.
I don't know, man. It's a fight for the ages.
Didn't you hear about that chess robot that just broke that little kid's finger while they were playing chess? It went against its programming and got his ass.
Yeah, that shit's sick as fuck, dude. It's just like, what was it, a few weeks ago? Like someone at Google was like, hey, the bots are becoming sentient. And they were like, you shut the fuck up, and then fired him.
Yeah.
And now we just got proof of it. This child was about to beat a chess robot for the first time in fucking 15 or 20 years. And the robot said, guess what, bitch? Absolutely not. And broke that little bitch's finger. And honestly, I love and appreciate that so much. If the bots are going to take over, they should at least be funny. And I think that's hilarious. So
I think we need to reward the fuck around and find out generation or, problems. We have to start troubleshooting with real world consequences. And picking a fight you can't win with a robot is one of them.
Yeah. It's just like, for a second there... Oh, God, you're fucking Furby. See, that's the bot I'm not worried about. But for a second there, I was worried that we weren't going to live to see a robot uprising. I was like, the extreme weather and temperature and everything else is going to cause us to, go out. But I think there's still a fighting chance for the robot uprising, and I keep my fingers crossed for it.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the robots will, I'm nice to my Roomba, so I feel like there will be some, maybe they'll kill me quick. That's what I'm hoping. Like, hey, Roomba, remember that time I apologized because you ran into me? Just slit my throat.
Yeah, I mean, I can't with that fucking Furby.
It just fell asleep.
Good, it
I wasn't
better.
paying attention to it.
It's gonna wake up and ruin everything. This is like when I bought a Tamagotchi over quarantine, and then I couldn't keep it alive for more than 3 days, even though I was paying nonstop attention to it. And then I just gave up, and I think it's in a drawer somewhere, and I can't handle it.
Man,
Like any good mother.
Kids these days don't want to work and just be a Tamagotchi parent.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to mute myself and tell Oliver to come get Puffin.
Look at this. Falling apart. Choosing the AI over her dog already. It's incredible.
He's in here crying. Like, the Furby went to sleep. Now Puffin is just looking at me. Maybe I'm getting a headache. For those of you who don't know, this is what he'll do if I'm getting a headache, where he'll just stare at me and freak out. So maybe it's not the Furby. I might be getting a headache. Will you bring me Tylenol? Oh my god, this episode's fucking nonsense.
I think it is the Furby, though, but we can blame your headache. But anyway, speaking of, I don't know how I'm going to tie that in. I was going to say speaking of headaches, but I think this is about murder and not a headache. I mean, I bet his head did hurt, probably for a moment before he died.
Yeah, so this is going to be, I don't know, what do we call this? A laid back episode. We put in a ton of work for the Furby episode. That
Furry.
Furby? Oh my god.
Yeah, Jesus, the Freudian slip. She's unhinged. Doctor, she's out. Holy fucking shit. I'm crying, bro. Chelsea just fell out of the chair, and she fell like cartoon style. Her legs went up in the air and everything. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, this is the only time I wish we recorded. Oh my fucking god. Oh my god. Wait, please tell me. Wait, when we end the recording, oh, you couldn't even hear me. When we end the recording, it'll have audio, right? I mean visual. I
think so, yeah.
Flip that part.
I think my legs went over my head. I didn't even have my headphones on, but I could hear you laughing.
Her legs went up like a fucking cartoon. Holy shit, that was incredible. Oh my fucking god. Oh. Oh my god. What the fuck? What the fuck? Why did you do that?
I don't know. I hit my elbow. I was drinking.
Shit came flying off that fucking table back there too.
That was my blanket that I sit on went under, like somehow got kicked from under my butt and went all the way up over my head.
Holy shit! Jeez. You have to put that video on Patreon. Everyone deserves to see it. Holy shit! Oh, are you hurt?
Look at my elbow.
Yeah, bitch, you ain't shit, dog. You ain't so much shit.
You see that mild scuff?
Mm-hmm.
And thank God my friend was
man,
asleep.
you went down,
can't
dude.
use this against me later.
Fuck.
Okay.
Oh man, that was good. Oh, what a gift I was just given. Oh, your fucking ankles clapped your forehead, bro. Oh shit.
Please don't make jokes when I have a mouthful of water.
That you just gave me the best joke of all. I'm just giving it back to you.
Oh, aim to please. So let's forget that happened and let's get started.
Yeah, let's pretend like that didn't just happen. Yeah, right, bitch. That's gonna play over. That's gonna be the last thing I see before I die.
All right.
Oh my god, I can't wait to clip that. You better fucking save the fucking video file, you bitch. You better save the video file.
I'll do what I can. I might forget. We'll see
No.
how nice you are to me.
You know how many people loved your fucking bald forehead picture?
We shared that? The bald forehead?
Yeah, I did.
Where?
You see it?
No.
I put it on Patreon.
You
fucker. Look it. Everyone loved it though. Hold on.
Is that why they were in Patreon comments and I was like, what the fuck is this about?
Look at Chelsea's shiny bald head. Shine on, you crazy diamond. Look at that though. Everyone loved it. Honestly, one of like our most what do you call that? When people like they interact, one of our biggest interactions is what the fuck you mean? Of course I was gonna fucking share that. You kidding me? God.
I don't even know. I thought that it was just like a random comment on our Patreon. And I was like, hey, thanks for the comment, man. No, it was about my head. Fucking
yeah, and then I can't wait to see what people say about you falling, dog. Oh, shit. Remember, $1 gets you in. $1 single dollar, and you can get this quality content.
Oh, my God.
Okay, anyway.
All right.
So back to this.
Yeah.
So what you were saying was we did a lot of research on the furry episodes,
community,
so
yeah.
this is going to be a little bit more laid back. And by laid back, I still mean you wrote 5 pages on it.
Yeah, and by laid back, we mean literally you will be falling out of your chairs backwards. So, it was a cold December morning in 1931 when a freight train was...
I just thought about it.
Jesus.
I saw it. You look so stupid. You can only see like the tip of your head.
Top of my bald head.
Like you perfectly saw your legs. You perfectly saw your legs clap up in the air. And then you were just a fucking head on the floor. Oh my fucking god, I can't do this. How the fuck am I gonna do this? I'm crying. How am I gonna do it? Stop it! Okay. Oh my god, I can't. Okay. Woo. I gotta just focus on this. Gotta focus on the words. Okay, it's fine. Just like play it back for me. Like
I didn't even get through the first sentence.
Okay, go.
Okay.
Hold on, I'm gonna mute for a second.
I'm not even gonna look at you. I'm just gonna put my hand over the camera. It was a cold December morning in 1931. I can't even fucking look at you drinking your Gatorade and just spitting your liquid back into the cup. You're fucking disgusting.
Stop making me laugh.
You were laughing when I looked over.
Okay, it's fine.
All
It's fine. Woo.
Oh.
Let me think about 9/11.
Think about
okay.
monkeypox.
Okay, go.
Capitalism, economy. Okay, it was a cold December morning in 1931 when a freight train was passing through a small Arkansas town called Gurdon. Without warning...
I think it's the word is funny. I think the name Gurdon is funny. And then I think what you did would be called a Gurdon. Okay, it's fine. Just keep going. Just keep going. I can't.
Is it sad that I was like, Gurdon could be the name of a Furby? The mind where it goes.
Get yourself together.
You started it! Without warning, 14 of the train cars detached from the rail and shattered the quiet of the southern town. That day, the city marshal was... Oh man, I missed a word, and now I'm
You
just
really
even more
fucked up these
humiliated.
last few sentences. I'll be real with you.
The next day, the city marshal was alerted by the wife of one Will McLean that her husband had never returned from work. The man's wife informed law enforcement that her husband was a section foreman of the Missouri Pacific Railroad, which, you guessed it, was the very same one that had seen the derailment of its freight train the night before. Since police were already on the scene of the derailment and hadn't seen any sign of Will yet, the marshal instead began going around the small community to see if anyone had seen the missing man. The marshal noticed one of Will's co-workers, named Louis McBride, acting real suspicious and lingering around the area. So he did what law enforcement does best.
Shoot first and ask questions later.
Close. He arrested the man so he could mercilessly interrogate him at the police station.
Close second.
Now, it didn't take long for Louis to break under questioning, and nearly right away he admitted to the murder. Instructing Louis to take him to the site of the murder, the marshal was horrified to find 440 yards, that's a quarter of a mile, folks, of blood stretching from the tracks into the woods. Following the blood, the marshal found the body of a mauled and maimed Will McLean. It was clear that he had been nearly beaten to death and left for dead, but instead of expiring on the tracks, he instead crawled away from the tracks in search of help before he eventually died, lantern still in hand.
Oh, that's one hell of a haunted ghost to scare children. Just crawling, bleeding out, horrifically maimed with a lantern in your hand.
Right? 440 yards of just blood.
Yeah, that's brutal, dude.
So after looking into, the history of the railroad in the area, the marshal believed that Louis had used a shovel and a railroad spike to kill Will after being disgruntled from recent layoffs.
There's a way to form a union, and that's definitely not it.
No, he could have done better. So, after questioning the man further, police produced a couple of different theories about what could have happened between Will and Louis. One is that during the Great Depression, which is the era we are talking about, companies weren't allowed to offer the amount of hours, or they weren't capable of offering the amount of hours that people needed to support themselves. Now, the next part of the theory can be left to you to decide. Angry about not getting the hours he needed, Louis either removed a railroad spike to derail the train out of frustration, or he removed it to kill Will. Either way, Will had caught Louis in the act of this sabotage and was murdered before he could alert anyone of the looming danger from the tampered track. Louis, yeah, shitty, right?
Well, it's just so there were other casualties, yeah, assuming?
I did not find. So I think because it was a freight train, there wasn't any casualties, but there would have been casualties. So there was a actual railroad train that went through that did have people on it, but it was running late that day. So instead, the next train that went through was the freight train. And I think the engine made it through. It was just the rails that derailed.
Okay.
But he would have killed a whole lot of people had the freight train not gone through first.
Yeah.
So Louis McBride was put to death by electric chair in Little Rock Penitentiary on July 8th, 1932. And in fact, you can even look him up on execution records for Arkansas at that time. Isn't that fun?
Yeah, Little Rock, notoriously known for trying to put people to death who don't deserve it.
Yeah, and I will say that there are newspaper articles that I was going to clip and read from where it talks about Louis McBride and this murder. But that was back in the day. Louis McBride was a man of color, and leave it up to you how newspapers wrote about people of color back then. That's not words that I'm allowed to say. But if people want to look it up and get some history from the time, you can look this up in newspapers. This is basically the gist of it, though, because it's only 3 paragraphs.
Well, okay, I haven't read on, so I don't know. Is this police coercion, or is this really a murder?
It was probably a murder.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, it's not fine, but I understand.
There wasn't any, so I tried to find so much more information about this than what was available. From what I read, it was a cut and dry murder case. I wouldn't put it past the times and racism and things like that of people just wanting to have an open shut type thing to have pegged it on the wrong person, but there's no evidence of that from what I found. So take it with a grain of salt, I suppose.
Okay.
So like I said, pretty cut and dry case. But it's the legacy that popped up after that is what we're talking about today, because something pretty crazy has been consistently happening to the train tracks since then. So ever since the murder, there has been an eerie light that moves through the trees near the site of where Will was, cut down, just off of Interstate 30. And they've been spotted enough that it has become something like the Old Faithful of mysterious sightings in the United States. And although the railroad is now deserted, you can still get to it if you're willing to head about 75-ish miles south of Little Rock and then a little bit further along Interstate 30. You'll pass by a cemetery and cross paths with State Road 53. If you get out of your car and walk along the tracks in this area, you'll be met with a floating orb hovering just a few feet above the ground along the tree line, which has officially been named the Gurdon light.
And everyone sees this.
Yeah, it's pretty consistent. People will go out there. It may not show up the first time you go out, but it will show up one of the times you go out. It is consistently there. And it has been so consistent that even scientists have actually stepped up to test it, and it appears enough where they can actually run tests on it. It's not one of those things where they get descriptions of different experiences from locals. Like, they have physically gone there and tested this thing in various means, and we'll definitely dive into it. And if you scroll down in the document, that is a picture of what they see.
That was a big breathe into the microphone,
I know.
just so you know. And she's coughing.
I've been through a physical ordeal, and I'm having a hard time breathing.
Don't make me think about it again. Okay, so they just kind of look like, I don't know how to describe that. It's like two lights, but they're not really that distinct. But they're there.
It looks like
blurry.
a flashlight in the darkness, and I think the second light is just it reflecting off the ground.
Oh, is it supposed to be a lantern? I don't know.
Well,
know what that
seriously,
looks like.
I don't know either, but it doesn't look like anything, right? It looks like someone pointing a flashlight directly in your face.
It would look like someone holding two flashlights, like one above the other.
Yeah. And it isn't like the other paranormal instances where something is seen once and then left for us to interpret throughout history. Locals in the area have grown up around the phenomena and aren't ashamed to give interviews about the mysterious light, and reports have been made about it ever since Will McLean had been murdered. And if you think people haven't spent a good amount of time and energy trying to debunk the light, you would be very mistaken. The Gurdon light even became the subject of scrutiny after a 1994 episode of Unresolved Mysteries, who attempted to debunk it without success. Regardless, there are still a few theories as to what the light could be. So due to the location of the light, some people believe it to be swamp gas.
The amount of times I've heard swamp gas as an explanation, I'm just like,
it's like a weather
what the
balloon.
fuck is it? Yeah, what the fuck?
I'll tell you what it is. Swamp gas occurs when decomposing vegetation produces highly combustible fumes, which can give off small balls of fire when they go off.
Oh, okay.
But the issue here is that it doesn't explain the light in weather conditions, such as windy or rainy days, which wouldn't allow the pops of gas to ignite. Another popular claim is that the lights are just reflecting from the highway, and I actually do want to tell a story about when this actually happened to me, because I thought I was going to be arrested. Have you ever done flow in the Ogden Cemetery?
No, I don't hang out in Ogden.
The Ogden Cemetery is pretty old, right? Like, there are different headstones in there that are from the 1800s.
Yeah, I don't remember if you told me this story here or just told me in person, but I think I know the story you're going to tell.
Yeah, I think I've told it to you before too, because I've never been more scared. I've done flow a few times. I told the story about when we went up and one of my friends had weed and then the cops did a super
Oh yeah, this is a different story?
It's the same, it's at the same cemetery trying to find flow, but this is a different story.
Oh, okay, please tell.
So I convinced my sister Jessica to drive us up there, and it was just me and my friends. And I think she was only 16 at the time, so she just barely had a license. She definitely wasn't allowed to take me and my friends on the freeway yet. But we did it anyway, because Jessica's a rebel. So we go up to the cemetery, and the way that you find Flo is she has like a very tiny little headstone just off to the left side of the road. When you see it, you're supposed to have your lights on, and then you stop, you back up like 3 feet, turn your lights off, and then flash them 3 times. And then what you'll see is like a mist, like a very eerie green light that comes across the road and just kind of stays there. Now, I don't want to take away anything from the flow mythos. I was terrified. I don't get that scared. I remember like not even talking the whole way home, and my sister was looking at me, asking me if I was okay. And my friends in the back knew something was up because I was just wide-eyed and like vice gripping my sister's arm, right?
Mhm.
I was petrified. The extra part of the story is when I went back with some other friends to show them. And that was when the cops were there and they made us
did it
get out.
happen to you when you went with Jess? Did it
Yeah.
happen?
Yeah, so we definitely saw, it was kind of like Scooby-Doo, right? It was like a very light green, misty looking aura is the only way I can describe it. It wasn't a light, it wasn't a fog, but it was like an aura that was across the road. And it was just kind of flat. So it was almost like a heavy fog had settled, but it wasn't thick like a fog. It was more like a tinted aura. I really don't know how to describe it any better than that.
And everyone saw it.
Yeah. I was the only one who got super petrified, though, because then my sister saw how freaked out I was and she flipped on the lights, and then we left and everyone was kind of jazzed from the experience, but I was terrified. So going back up again, I had told other friends about it. I'm like, oh my God, it's so scary. You have to come up and try it. And that's when I went up and the cops were there and had the super troopers explanation where they literally made us all get out of the car and stand in front of her tombstone. And then as cars drove by in Ogden, they would hit some of like the street lights or they would hit windows of the houses nearby and lights would reflect on the road. And I remember them distinctly saying, does that satisfy you that that's what flow is? And I remember thinking like, this isn't what I saw. I would know lights flashing on the road versus like an ominous green mist. But I digress. I never went back. I was more scared of the cops than I was of the ghost.
Yeah, most people are.
Plus, I was underage, and that was like back when I feared getting in trouble with my parents because I had a curfew. So the thought that somebody would try to explain what I first saw versus just regular light refraction, I feel like it would be eye roll worthy. So I realized in my situation that I just told a story where lights were reflecting off the road. So that's just for transparency purposes. The problem here is that with it being an explanation for Gurdon, it simply isn't possible in the way that it could be an explanation for the Ogden Cemetery. Specifically because these sightings go all the way back to the 1930s, which is long before the highway even ran through the area. And geographically, with the hills of the town and other geography, the light simply cannot pass through the area without massive interference.
Yeah.
And with the consistency of the lights, there's no way that the inconsistency of cars passing through from miles away could explain the phenomenon. Because without cars in the area, the lights still pop up. So other experts have stepped in and tried to explain away the lights with everything from quartz fields to I looked up the pronunciation of this, piezoelectric effect.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, piezoelectric.
Sure.
Piezoelectric, whatever. This effect just means that electricity can form from pressure and heat. So one man named Mike Klingon, who has attempted to explain that the light is actually, he's a Gurdon resident, right? And he grew up in the area. And he took such an interest in this that he got a physics degree as an undergraduate from the University of South Carolina. And he kind of made it his hobby to investigate what these lights could be. And he has gone above and beyond. He should. If that was,
are you kidding me? What do you mean? Yeah, of course he should. If he was like, I'm going to dedicate my entire life to figuring out what this light is. Like, yeah, of course. Yeah, you should go above and beyond.
I agree.
Kidding me?
And you know what? I think I want to reach out to Mike. Mike, I know you're listening right now. I would like to tell him that he is the final push for me to get my doctorate in cryptozoology.
Oh, God.
Mike, thank you for being an inspiration.
Well, here's the thing. Majoring in physics doesn't just explain a ghost light. It can also do other things that are important. Whereas a $2,000 degree in cryptozoology, you already have all those tools at your disposal.
But I don't have the fancy little accolade to put next to my name.
This
You know what?
is
We're going to die in like 2 years. The Earth's going to boil over. Just let me have this. You laughed at me for 45 fucking minutes earlier. Just let me have this.
okay. I'm agreeing, not because of the you falling, but because the Earth is on fire. So
Yeah. So Mike has even taken on other theories to attempt to disprove that those theories don't work. He has tested the light for polarization, and he has dismantled all of them. So, for example, the swamp gas theory holds no weight with Mike, who explains that there is no way for this to explain how the light holds its shape, consistency, or hovering height in different types of weather in the area. So a good way to think about this is if I was like, I'm seeing the same fire every single day, you'd be like, no, somebody just may be lighting a new fire. It could be this. But if I'm like, no, I'm seeing the same fire. It has the same shape. It doesn't move. Stays the same in wind. It stays the same during the rain. And it doesn't change. Then obviously there's something going on here. He also doesn't believe that the light could be caused by the piezoelectric effect either. And he isn't that enthusiastic about the points of his research that do hit in this effect. Specifically, he has reported that other phenomenon have popped up along with the lights that other residents have keyed in on. So maybe if it was just an electric effect, there wouldn't be other things. But God, I am reading so far ahead and my brain is going numb. Does that make sense? If it was just the lights, he might buy into it. But quoting from deadhistory.com, we're about to find out why that isn't the case. So, quote, according to Mike, sightings of the light predate the murder of Will McLean. Some of the old-timers in the area claim the light was dated to the Native Americans and first white settlers in the area. Unlike other ghost lights, the Gurdon light has all the makings of a great ghost story. A well-documented violent murder, swampy surroundings, a cemetery, and even Bigfoot sightings near the sticky road crossing of the tracks.
whoa.
We know what crossroads means. There's always funky nut stuff happening there. So Mike shared some of his personal experiences with me, and he says as a physicist, he's experienced things he can't find an explanation for. He watched a group of people through binoculars as they walked down the tracks toward him for 10 to 15 minutes, only to see them vanish when they got to him. He's seen a strange bluish mist hovering over the rails, voices and shuffling sounds with no visible source, and on one occasion, he was overwhelmed with a strong sense of dread while walking back to the group he was with. As he approached them, they all started to report the same feeling without him having said a word. So it gets a little bit dicey there, right?
It's just spooky.
About lights.
Yeah, it's just spooky all the way around. Every way you twist it, it's just spooky.
Well, yeah, and there's noises. There's the ominous feeling. There's Bigfoot sightings. We're starting to get into the territory where it's not so much ghost story, but it is entering the high strangeness of UFO interaction and presence in an area.
Mm-hmm.
And if there is a lot of quartz there, something that you and I have learned with Missing 411 is geological anomalies tend to attract UFOs. Yeah. Specifically Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
So another physicist stepped in and defended what Mike had observed as well. According to TripSavvy.com, Dr. Charles Lemming of Henderson State University even brought his students out to observe and test the light. He would set up different filters to see the polar range of the lights and wanted to determine if it was anything like a mirage at all. So all mirages polarize, all of them. And in these tests, they didn't catch anything to indicate the lights that they were seeing were the form of some naturally occurring optical illusion. This basically put the lid on any theory of the lights being reflective or atmospheric in any way. It means they are something unknown entirely. So even now, the light is a popular spot for locals and even more popular for tourists around Halloween. Simply walk into any gas station in the area and ask for directions to the, quote, Ghost Light Bluffs, that's what they're called locally, and they will send you on your way.
I see. There's a part of my brain that wants to just enjoy high strangeness. And then there's a part of my brain that's just how convenient for some podunk town to have some sort of tourist trap attraction. Do you know what I'm saying?
In some cases, yes, because I do think that towns have made profits off of this type of stuff. Look at the Flatwoods Monster is a really good example, or even Point Pleasant. They have Mothman stuff everywhere. This, I don't think they make money off of. you literally drive out into the middle of nowhere and then you have to get out of your car and walk a while. I didn't see any touristy fun type stuff except for things like TripAdvisor telling you to go look.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, also with the cemetery that you reference, it's like an unkempt, forgotten cemetery in the woods next to the abandoned railroad bridge. It's not like and there's a spooky cemetery next to it. Like, it's a completely almost forgotten, overgrown, semi-abandoned cemetery.
Those are the scariest types of cemeteries.
Yeah, the best kind, honestly.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, there's like a whole like Arkansas to do, like what to do while you're visiting, and it's like, go check this out, and you know that someone's got merch somewhere. I don't know. The fact that it has ties to like Native American lore automatically makes me believe it, because there was nothing nefarious about their storytelling. It was just safety and preventative.
Right.
So that does make me believe it a little bit more. But it's just, I don't know. I guess also because nothing too nefarious, like other than an unrelated murder that just happened in the area, like it isn't like a missing 411 situation where someone vanishes and then reappears minutes, hours, days, years later, whatever. It's just kind of like you get icky spookies when you go there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it just depends on how you want to think of it. Do you want to think of it as a ghost story, or do you want to think of it as a high strangeness story? Because I put ghost stories on a totally different tier.
Yeah, I would put this as a high strangeness story.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think it'd be fun to go see it. It's still my dream to do like a road trip to go see like the Flatwoods Monster, Salem, Mothman, Point Pleasant, hit up all of these areas, because cryptids are so saturated in the eastern part of the United States. I mean, we have the Bear Lake Monster, which we could probably do an episode on, but I think that that's more of a fun tier. Just growing up here as an actual local of the area, that's always just been a fun story. I don't know if there's any weight in it.
Yeah, there's also like, I don't know much about the Bear Lake Monster, but there's something not as interesting to me about cryptids, quote unquote, that could just be like dinosaurs, kind of. You know what I mean? Like, there's that guy who's convinced that there's like a megalodon in the ocean still, and he's like trying to prove it through the shark tracking apps and stuff. And I don't find that as big of a stretch or a reach as like some other cryptids, like Bigfoot or like, the Flatwoods Monster. Yeah. Because, like, sure, it's not crazy to think that like some prehistoric animal just happened to survive in a prehistoric land. That doesn't tickle my fancy as much as something as that's like totally not based in the realm of our reality, I
have different types of love for it. I 100% love the cryptids that could be dinosaurs, because I feel like those are more real. I feel like cryptids like Bigfoot, where they're probably alien or supernatural phenomenon, I feel less likely to see that. And I gotta wish for what I can hope for. And I can hope to see a dinosaur.
Sure.
I see alligators on TV all the time. Mm-hmm. I can't hope to see a phenomenon that only some people see once and it ruins their lives. I may not be that lucky.
That's fair. That's true.
So,
Yeah. I get what you're saying, but I still kind of like compartmentalize them. Not because of like my own personal wants and wishes, but just like what I would consider more like easily digestible to the average person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, this is cute and fun. There's no squaries going on. It's just kind of like, yeah, spooky, creepy ickies happen when you go and fuck around here.
It's fun that way. We needed a little bit of lightheartedness, and this one was neat. I liked looking at the pictures. The pictures are just any creepy Pinterest background with a light in the middle of it. I find
it's giving like very much like 2003 editing a picture for the first time vibes. Mm-hmm. I'm curious to see if like other people have tried to document the lights in recent history and not on like a Motorola Razr. So I definitely want to look into that unrelated to this.
A bunch of YouTubes of people talking about the lights. I tried to not pull up those types of YouTubes only because I don't want to watch other people's stories and then write them into the episode.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, speaking of fair, you're going to see something worth more than $1. I'll tell you that much right now. You can go to the link tree in any of our bios and find a link to our Patreon. $1 gets you in, and you'll see things such as Chelsea's shiny forehead, new episodes every week, and most importantly, a clip of her absolutely eating fucking shit at the beginning of this episode. Other things you can find in there are pro-choice resources, a link to our merch page, a link to... also, we have new merch designs out. We haven't talked about that at all because we're fucking assholes. We have new merch designs out. All the old stuff is still there. We have a Defend the Prequels tee, which for those who aren't on Patreon know that potentially, again, we still don't have the final schedule yet, but potentially Chelsea and I will have to go and defend the prequels, which I will die defending with my honor. We also have 2 versions of the It's Always Every Day is a Beautiful Day to Wake Up and Be a Hater. We have the Chelsea's cursive with flowers, very cutesy, very fun to wear around because everyone would think it's like an inspirational shirt, and then they'd get close and read it and be like, what? And then you have my version with a barbed wire heart. Both fun. Check those out. And yes, we do also have the Behead Billionaires design with a fantastic oh my god, why am I blanking on the name?
I don't know. Did you?
Why am I blanking on the name of what that's called?
A guillotine?
Guillotine. There we go. With a guillotine on it. And I want the proceeds of the Behead Billionaires to go to organizations that are unionizing in their workplaces right now. Because as we talked about in Patreon, the chains of capitalism tried to prevent you from doing that by financially crippling you. And so I think it's important to help those people. And I hope those people also include you, because there's nothing but benefits for unionizing your workplace. So that's merch. We also have a link to Kelly Halloran or at Wildwood Owl on Etsy. We have her link to get our stickers and some bandanas, and also her cool shits on there. And we have a link to join our Discord server, which is always a good time. We have the Facebook group, our Twitter handle, and also links to listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But like, again, I don't know why you would need those if you're listening to us now. And yeah, that's basically that on that. Today was a rough one for me. I felt choked out by the chains of capitalism and living in a world on fire. But I was gifted with not just this very enjoyable, lighthearted story where someone did die, but it's kind of unrelated, and it's fine. I mean, it's not fine, but it's like people aren't continuing to die. But I was mostly gifted with watching Chelsea eat absolute fucking shit. And for that, I would like to say and thank a Hail Satan for giving me that gift.
I don't even know what to be grateful for anymore. I'm just gonna hail the fact I didn't hit my head.
That's
or did
true.
I don't even know if I did. We're gonna have to watch the footage back.
You couldn't afford to hit your head one more time.
Never. Alright. Bye.
Bye.